God is my dog. God is my tree. God is not necessarily in a church. God is running through my fingers. God is not rules and regulations.
She never did join the church, and in the end, she seems to have placed her faith elsewhere.
The brain is wider than the sky, for put them side by side, the one the other will contain with ease, and you beside. The brain is deeper than the sea, for hold them blue to blue, the one the other will absorb as sponges buckets do. The brain is just the weight of God, for heft them pound for pound, and they will differ, if they do, as syllable from sound.
So I'd covered seclusion,
the air that I'm surrounded with is enough.
death,
Death is sexy.
and God.
I can't believe in something that is not tangible in my mind.
None of these Emilys seemed to be getting me any closer to my elusive leading lady. I mean, no one was surprising me or confusing me. And I'm pretty sure that if I ever did find myself in a room with Emily Dickinson, I'd end up surprised and confused, like Higginson.
Colonel Thomas Wentworth Higginson, a well-known literary critic and women's rights advocate, began a correspondence with Emily Dickinson in 1862, when she sent him a selection of her poems. In 1870, Higginson visited the woman he referred to as his half-cracked poetess.
A step like a pattering child's in entry, and in glided a little plain woman with 2 smooth bands of reddish hair, and a very plain and exquisitely clean white piqué, and a blue net worsted shawl. She came to me with 2 daylilies, which she put in a sort of childlike way into my hand and said, "These are my introduction," in a soft, frightened, breathless, childlike voice, and added under her breath, "Forgive me if I'm frightened. I never see strangers and hardly know what I say." But she talked soon, and thenceforward continuously and deferentially, sometimes stopping to ask me to talk instead of her, but readily recommencing. I never was with anyone who drained my nerve power so much. Without touching her, she drew from me. I am glad not to live near her.
You know, I really wouldn't have minded living near any of these Emilys. That was my problem. I hoped that my next question would get past all the polite surface pose.
Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights should be our luxury.
Futile the winds to a heart in port.
Done with the compass, done with the chart.
Rowing in Eden, ah, the sea.
Might I but moor tonight in thee?
4th question. Miss Dickinson, describe what would be for you a truly wild night.
This is why I don't like strangers. A wild night.
A stormy night. A stormy night. Outside the house and inside me.
I consider a wild night to be...
I mean, what do you think you're doing, going out and asking actresses what a wild night is? I mean, you'll be lucky if you don't get sued.
I can't tell you my wild night more than what I tell you in my poem.
The wildness was in the language. The wildness was in the poetry.
Exaltation is the going of an inland soul to sea, past the houses, past the headlands, into deep eternity.
I think Emily loved somebody. The poems that burst out in 1861, 62, 63, with such passion, just revealed that she loved someone.
Of all the souls that stand, create, I have elected one. When sense from spirit files away and subterfuge is done.
We have drafts of 3 letters that Dickinson wrote to someone she referred to as Master.
Dear Master, I wish that I were great, like Mr. Michelangelo, and could paint for you. Master, open your life wide and take me in forever. I will never be tired. I will never be noisy when you want me still.
I've gone in circles in the course of 35 or 40 years, wondering who that person is. And in the beginning, I discarded Charles Wadsworth, and I've gone through several candidates and come back to Charles Wadsworth.
The Reverend Charles Wadsworth has emerged as a leading candidate for the role of master. Dickinson apparently met Wadsworth when she attended services at his Philadelphia church in 1855.
I don't personally think he was really her type because he was a very, very severe religious man. That if you don't do the right thing, you'll suffer and burn.
I am older tonight, Master, but the love is the same.
Samuel Bowles was a close friend of Austin Dickinson. Though happily married, the handsome, energetic newspaper editor maintained friendships with a number of women, including Emily Dickinson.
Not Samuel Bowles. I never really felt. I feel her affection for Samuel Bowles was as a very, very close friend.
Another candidate lived right next door to Emily.
It's been suggested that it was her sister-in-law, Sue Dickinson, that it was, there's a lesbian relationship there. I don't fully agree with that. I think Sue was extremely important to her, and she did love Sue. But I think there was somebody who was male in her life whom she cared very, very much about.
I think Emily had many great loves of her life, and some were women and some were men.
And then there are those that think Master might have been a product of the poet's imagination.
I would say that A Wild Night involves a wild person. And
You're a wild person?
I am a wild person when I'm among wild people, yes.
But you don't see anybody. What I really wanted to know was whether Master, or anybody else, had ever gotten past second base with Emily Dickinson. I mean, we know she wasn't a complete innocent. Her brother carried on a wild love affair with a married woman half his age, right under Emily's nose.
Sweet hours have perished here. This is a mighty room. Within its precincts hopes have played, now shadows in the tomb.
A wild night for her brother Austin. It could have been under the dining room table at the Dickinson homestead, making love to Mabel Loomis Todd. It was a very sexual society and much more liberated than we might think today.
So what about Emily? Did she have any rendezvous under the dining room table?
Well, that's a rather personal question.
Later in her life, Dickinson did have a documented romance. Otis Lord was a state Supreme Court judge and a longtime Dickinson family friend. After his wife died in 1878, Judge Lord and the poet developed a passionate attachment, and though he was 66 at the time, 18 years her senior, they even talked of marriage.
It would have been a most unusual marriage. I think she would have gone into